Sometimes in our lives, God gives us clues to follow to go in the right direction, but we don't always see it as His leading. Today, I'm going to read Numbers 22, 21 through 39, the story of Balaam's donkey. Balaam got up in the morning, saddled his donkey, and went with the princes of Moab. But God was very angry when he went, and the angel of the Lord stood in the road to oppose him. Balaam was riding on his donkey, and his 2 servants were with him. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with a drawn sword in his hand, she turned off the road into a field. Balaam beat her to get her back on the road. Then the angel of the Lord stood in a narrow path between 2 vineyards with walls on both sides. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she pressed close to the wall, crushing Balaam's foot against it. So he beat her again. Then the angel of the Lord moved on ahead and stood in a narrow place, where there was no room to turn, either to the right or to the left. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she lay down under Balaam, and he was angry, and beat her with his staff. Then the Lord opened the donkey's mouth, and she said to Balaam, "What have I done to you to make you beat me these 3 times?" Balaam answered the donkey, "You have made a fool of me. If I had a sword in my hand, I would kill you right now." The donkey said to Balaam, "Am I not your own donkey, which you have always ridden to this day? Have I been in the habit of doing this to you?" "No," he said. Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with his sword drawn. So he bowed low and fell face down. The angel of the Lord asked him, "Why have you beaten your donkey these 3 times? I have come here to oppose you, because your path is a reckless one before me. The donkey saw me and turned away from me these 3 times. If she had not turned away, I would certainly have killed you by now, but I would have spared her." Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, "I have sinned. I did not realize you were standing in the road to oppose me. Now, if you are displeased, I will go back." The angel of the Lord said to Balaam, "Go with the men, but speak only what I tell you." So Balaam went with the princes of Balak. When Balak heard that Balaam was coming, he went out to meet him at the Moabite town on the Arnon border at the edge of his territory. Balak said to Balaam, "Did I not send you an urgent summons? Why didn't you come to me? Am I really not able to reward you?" "Well, I have come to you now," Balaam replied. "But can I say just anything? I must speak only what God puts in my mouth." In this story, God gives the clue to the donkey, changing its path. But Balaam does not see this as God's leading, and just thinks his donkey is stubborn, so he beats it 3 times. This story's main point is that God opposes our disobedience. What happens in this story is that God sent an angel to stop Balaam from cursing the Israelites, as talked about earlier in Numbers chapter 22. But he was so blinded by greed and not listening to God's will. He was choosing to make his own choices, so that he did not see the angel right in front of him. This applies to our lives consistently, because you can see how we become blinded by our own desires and forget or ignore what God desires us to do. As it says in James 1, 14 through 15, "But each one is tempted when by his own evil desire he is dragged away and enticed. Then, after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin. And sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death." However, his donkey sees the angel and prevents this greed from killing Balaam, because the donkey tries to save Balaam 3 times by getting out of the way. Balaam, obviously as we read, does not appreciate this and turns on his donkey. So God allows the donkey to speak to Balaam and tell him why he was doing what he was doing. Balaam realized that since this miraculous thing had happened, God must be sending a message to him, and his eyes were opened. So, we can see from this story that God works in mysterious ways, because he used the donkey that Balaam was using to pursue his greed and sinful desire to bring Balaam back to God. After this story, you can see later on in the books of Numbers 22 through 24 that Balaam returns to a God-honoring lifestyle, and after 3 times of being asked to curse the Israelites, he blesses them because of God changing his viewpoint on his way of life. Numbers 22:37 is a good endpoint that can also be used for the application of us doing God's will and always speaking his will.